Hey, welcome back to the Kenobi Fancast. This week, we watched more Kenobi. We also watched a few other chaotic things, and there's lots of dumb news, as per usual. How are you doing, George?
I'm doing good. Halfway through the show already. Disney are merciful.
Jesus. I'm sure we're going to talk about this a little later on, but my God, does it neither feel like it's halfway done or halfway started? Oh dear. What have you been watching other than Kenobi though, George?
I hopped over to the cinema the other day to go and see Men, Alex Garland's new film. Because I like Alex Garland. I had to sit through the trailer 50 billion times in the last couple months. In the end, it was kind of whatever. Kind of feels like a parody at times of like A24 horror films, where it's like perfectly designed to not appeal to any mainstream audience, but it kind of just falls into this wormhole of pseudo pretentiousness and cool looking visuals. It's a very well made movie, well acted and all that, but it just ends up kind of amounting to very little, which is very disappointing. Because again, I'm a fan of this stuff and I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't recommend the movie.
Oof, harsh words. My goodness. That's a shame because, I mean, but I'm going to say something that is going to like cancel me from hot film takes all of a sudden. But like when it comes to A24 films, I feel like a majority of them are that, you know, and it takes a really good one to land. And I feel like we've had a string of very good ones. And now this is probably the downfall again of where it returns to its natural state, if you ask me. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Like,
I don't know. I like a lot of the stuff they put out. I do think the kind of like cult status that they've gained from like in film Twitter and whatever is a bit lame. Although it's kind of wrapped back around now in the kind of like 2022, everything's self-aware, where people also make fun of people like that at the same time. Yeah. So it's kind of, you know, it's both ends of the scale there. But yeah, I feel like this is, or it's hopefully just kind of more of an outlier. I'm also wondering how much of it is like the movie feels like a very COVID friendly production in terms of most scenes involve no more than 2 or 3 actors. I'm not sure how much of that was down to either how it was conceived in terms of how it was written or them deciding to greenlight it and go with it when they did and when it was filmed in last year or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a bit disappointing.
It sounds like I thought it was going to be from, you know, you ever get that like gut feeling from a trailer where we're the first to say this, like, because we react to trailers all the time on this show, but like we're the first to say, fuck, it gives me nothing. There is absolutely no point me even saying, oh, I think it's going to be good, because like barely any of them give you enough to give you that yardstick. Perhaps due to the fact that I've seen that trailer so many times in the cinema, I kind of got that vibe of like most of the like plot is like, well, most of the gist of the film you've condensed into this trailer. Now all that is left is for you to throw funky visuals at me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there are some real funky visuals, by the way. And there's a whole sequence that lasts 4 or 5 minutes or something near the end where it is just like, this is fucking like gnarly and weird, and it deserves better content and better themes and messages, or well, better explored themes and messages for what it's showing you. Because like, holy fuck, out of context, some of it is just really great, gruesome horror imagery and all that.
Yeah, cool.
There's also a really funny side as well, where from the trailer you get that Rory Kinnear, the same guy, plays all the different characters. They do a mild spoiler, I guess. They do a thing where he plays like a very young character, like a boy, and it's his face. And obviously there's some digital fuckery going on there, and it's quite off-putting, but in not maybe the intended way, but I don't know. It's just more like a execution way. It's a bit off-putting. Yeah, which I'd like to see your reaction to.
Okay, that's my homework. I'll go and check it out then. Luckily, again, given the amount of times I've seen that trailer, it would be a miracle for this not to be in every single cinema in the country right now. So I will go and check it out. I will go and see. The other film that is in every single cinema ever, everywhere, is the film that you mentioned last week, which is Top Gun. We went and saw Top Gun together in person, in real life, which seems to be a recurring theme all of a sudden on this show. What the fuck?
Yeah. It will not be.
yeah, very, very shortly it will return back. And we will not see each other again forever. But yeah, we had a nice experience. We actually we talked a little bit about Top Gun last week, so I won't kind of retread those steps. But I share a lot of the opinions that you have. It is just like, it is really well made action. It's a really good flick. It has its highs and lows and everything like that. And it's like you commented on this, and I must have subconsciously like slurmed that information in. Like the pacing, the speed in which the story goes at is like perfect. There is nothing, unless you cut. It's one of those films where unless you cut an entire storyline, you couldn't condense it any shorter than it is. It is like everything hits you at hundreds of miles an hour in a really good way. That said, there was one scene which you had told me you couldn't cut anything. There was one scene which I agree you could not cut, but you were like, you cannot go to the toilet at any point in this movie without missing something crucial. And I just so happened, my spidey sense went off, and I went for a piss right as our good boy, what's the guy's name? Val Kilmer comes up.
Yeah.
And has a very emotional back to the old days, the good old days moment with our protagonist. And me not seeing the original Top Gun meant that I lost nothing. Like that was the perfect. I've never been more proud of the time I went to go and piss in the cinema, because I lost nothing. I came back for the last like 30 seconds and I was like, oh, teeth. And then that was, that scene was over and everything was back to normal again. So yeah,
the chaotic energy that it must take. Well, maybe it doesn't. It says more about me, because I cannot imagine going to one of these movies without having seen the original. Same thing with Blade Runner 2049, where you watched it having not seen the original. And when I found out you'd done that, it just completely cracked my skull open. Like, how the hell can you actually put yourself through that, not having the context?
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, tons of people can do it.
Yeah.
It's just something about me. It's like, I need to know. I need my lore. I need
it's correct. The correct way of doing it is to go in well versed. But I think it's, we have this problem with Kenobi or whatever. At what point, what's the limit to your necessity for lore? Like, would you go back and finish all of Book of Boba Fett just to watch the next season of Mandalorian or whatever? You have, I think, haven't you? You finished all of it, right? You are. But like, would you, if you weren't obliged to do so on? Or
actually, yeah, I think this has just become a little therapy session for my completionist media mind, where I did this for fucking Eternals, where I hadn't watched like any of the Marvel shows other than WandaVision, and I hadn't seen the Shang-Chi movie. So over one weekend, I just binged all of Falcon and Winter Soldier, Shang-Chi, and Loki, and I felt so empty at the end. And then I went to see Eternals, and I liked the movie, but it just obviously didn't connect to any of those three things whatsoever. It was a complete waste of fucking time.
I learned just a fun fact that perpetuates this, leaving this myth of having to see every single thing before it happens. When they filmed Doctor Strange, did you read about this? When they filmed Doctor Strange, they were literally finishing filming WandaVision. Like, it was the same block. So the script had been written and ready and all that kind of stuff, presumably way out of sync with WandaVision. So like, there was no point in watching WandaVision before that, unless you had already seen it, like you guys. And obviously we know from the actual movie itself that there's like one throwaway line, and then they basically just say fuck it to the rest of it, and there was no point watching it, right? So yeah, I don't know. But then again, much like with Blade Runner, I will, retrace the steps, perhaps, given my opinions of the newer movie. I may retrace back and try out some old school shit and see whether I like it, whether it flies to pun there. Who knows? But yeah, I enjoyed it. And actually, the best part of the experience for me is we paid £2 extra for the fucking weirdest cinema screen I've ever been in. It was like this director's lounge, real pretentious. Like you have to walk through a bar, and on the wall is, Tarantino, Scorsese, all your greats are on there. And then the bar's closed, and then you have to walk past the disabled toilets to get to the screen. And when you finally get to the screen, you walk in, and it's like a regular sized cinema screen with about like 10 total seats. And they're all like spread over this room with like luxury reclining seats and all this shit. And that you have like tables that swing round and go over the top of you so that you can put your drinks in the way of the film and can't see the film anymore. And then your table didn't even fucking work. We arrived and there was shit everywhere.
Yeah, there was shit all over your seat, which you had to clear away from whoever was sat in it last. Then my little table swinging thing just kept swinging away. So if you were to put your popcorn on there or something, it would just go too far for you if you're watching the movie sat back in your seat. Just be reaching like, fuck, like that for 2 hours.
But it was a fucking sick experience because it was like a whole different beast. It like felt like we were in a whole different thing to a usual cinema for me. So it worked. You've got me. Showcase, I will be back. But yeah, I think we need to next time. We kind of should have done the cinema the previous day. We should have used the director's room bar as our pre-game for Top Gun. I think that's the way forward. You got to pick a film that you can just booze your way through, and just do it.
I had a completely different read on what you were about to say. I started laughing. I thought you were going to say we should have watched the movie the day before and come back and recorded our podcast in the director's lounge bar. That's really like where I thought your brain was going, as if they fucking let us do that.
We goofed about the idea of recording this one on location.
Yes.
Now you've said it. Now we're just going to do it. I don't care about permission. We'll just see what fucking... They'll think we're like a piracy. They think we're here to bootleg the movies. No, we're just here to record our fucking film podcast in your shrine to Tarantino.
Is guerrilla podcasting a thing? Does that exist?
Yeah, some people do it. I know there's one, can't remember what it is, but they set up like a table out on the street. And they interview people who walk past, and that's their whole podcast, which is just smart. We could just do that. We just do it in the director's room. Get a few pints in. I'm liking it.
We should actually, if we end up going to that Star Wars thing in London next year, we should actually do that. But then just be twats and say, what do you think about this shit thing they just announced? And I'm actually looking forward to it. You're a fucking idiot for thinking that. And we get kicked out.
Well, you guys need to subscribe to the Patreon to make sure we can get tickets to the Star Wars celebration next year. Anyway, so in the news this week, George, Chris Hemsworth shares the first set photo from Mad Max Fury Road prequel Furiosa as production starts. What's the scoop, George? What's the news?
No. I thought it was kind of weird that it's so long after the fact with Mad Max. What's it called? Fury Road. And obviously
on the screen. It's right there.
Whoops. But yeah, it came out 7 years ago, I want to say, 2015. And obviously everyone loved it and it was so great and it made all the money. It's just so weird that it's like an in-between period now where it isn't striking while the iron's hot and they aren't doing the legacy sequel, whatever, that even stuff like Avatar's fallen into now.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, they've had the property and now they're choosing to do something with it to the point where they've just done it as, we're not going to use Charlize Theron. We're just going to get Anya Taylor-Joy because she's so popular and hot right now.
She's in right now.
Yeah, I just think it's weird. But I mean, George Miller, I'm pretty sure he's signed on to it. So it'll probably be good. Question mark at the end.
He takes seat as director. Yeah, I mean, it's... because it's the film is fucking legendary movie. It's got to be hard to fuck it up, right? It's literally mostly the same people. It's got to be hard to fuck it up, if you ask me. Yeah, I mean, this is one that I just cannot predict. It's kind of similar to Lord of the Rings in a way. Maybe not quite similar to Lord of the Rings because Lord of the Rings has too much money to fail. So there is an element of probability at play here. But this is a full on, this is your evens. This is 50-50, It could be good. It could be, who knows? what did catch my eye on screen right now, other than the Fitbit help dad go places advert for some reason, is Shadow the Hedgehog confirmed for Netflix's Sonic Prime series. And
What
now
the
I'm
fuck?
suddenly freaking out because there's a Sonic Prime series coming to Netflix that I had no idea was happening. What the fuck?
That's weird.
Is it? Oh, is this their anime thing? I think it's their anime thing.
It must be, because they do whatever proper Sonic show they do. They do it on their own little streaming service. I think it's Paramount and Sonic. So this would just be some extra thing they throw out there.
Yeah, cool. All right, fair. All right, false alarm, folks. We're not going to see CG's Shadow the Hedgehog on a TV show anytime soon. What we might see in CG on a TV show anytime soon is all 5 seasons that have been pre-planned of Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. This is huge news to me because, well, I mean, it's not, but it is. It's been so long in the works, and we've known about it for so long, and we've known there's going to be 5 seasons for so long. I am not at all surprised that they have the entire series planned out, or that they say they have the entire series planned out. What shocks me about reading this headline and this story is we just got off the back of Star Wars, the biggest franchise ever, doing its biggest trilogy ever, and not a single fucker planned the end of the third one when they were making the first one. So the fact that I'm reading this and going, oh yeah, wow, instead of, oh yeah, like it should be, like it should be, like that's how it should be designed. That's how stories are designed. That's pretty cool. The other point of note for me as well is, does this imply that they will never, renew the contract and do another 5 series if it works? Is this a one and done?
I don't know enough about extended Lord of the Rings lore to answer that, but won't there be this is meant to be the second age, I'm pretty sure. They can just go back and do the first age, and they can do age 0 generations or whatever as a third series if they need to, or some bullshit.
Oh, that's true.
They can just keep going back.
Yeah. Well, they can just keep darting around. Yeah, that makes sense. But then that would also be kind of lame because then you only get 5 seasons of this character or whatever. But
yeah, but they would just need to keep making stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really. It's like a half and half thing, because isn't all of the Lord of the Rings history well documented by people and in external media and other books and things like that? So on the one hand, it's you don't really have a reason to not have everything planned out because it's already there. The only reason you wouldn't have it planned out is if you're going so far away from the source material, in which case, what's the fucking point? But on the other hand, I don't really believe it's just obvious marketing thing of the thing they need to say of, we have a big plan for what we're doing so that people feel they can commit to the show or whatever.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, things change all the fucking time. And it is going to be at least 5 years, obviously, if you're doing 5 seasons, where characters become more popular than they thought they would, and they have to focus more on them.
Yeah.
Or, other things happen, writers leave, all that. So, it's kind of a non-news to me, but it's also Lord of the Rings, so I figured we should just check in on it.
Yeah. Well, and also there's been a few re-releases of different posters and characters and stuff. We are closer to this being a tangible show than ever before. So this is pretty, this particular news item isn't huge, but the news around it is. And actually I was just drifting into some of the stuff that's written here about the rights that Amazon bought were a 50-hour show. They knew from the beginning that this was the size of the canvas, right? So there's obviously all this complicated licensing shit here with the Tolkien estate just being assholes all the time, constantly. But you have they're probably not going to give out as much as you'd think. And you also have to remember they only have the rights to the books, The Lord of the Rings. That's it. They don't have the rights to all the other shit and all the other books. So a lot of their story, to be fair on them, a lot of their story needs to have been made up by them rather than made up by Tolkien. It should resemble Tolkien, not be made up by them, not be made up by him. But I would like to draw attention, George, to we know what our final shot will be, right? we even know what our final shot of the last episode will be, right? What that implies to me is not that they have every single episode meticulously written and planned out. That is what the beat sheet requires for the end of your series. A closing image is literally the term. So like, of course they know what their final shot will be because they're just writing a show. Yeah. I get the fear here where it says there are things in the first season that don't pay off until season 5. What a fucking horrible way to word what you're trying to say there. Because that makes me go, wow, there's no point watching season 2, 3, or 4.
I also, the vibes that gives me is of like hedging their bets of if something doesn't seem good at the time, or if people aren't a fan of the creative decision, they can go, just wait, it will pay off. And it's like,
and then it does.
You can't criticize it.
Yeah, because they're testing it in market every day. They release an episode, you know. And around production, we know for a fact that season 2 is being filmed right now in the UK. So they at least have to have most of season 2 written to be doing so. I don't know. This is a vast little show at the very least. Yeah,
I'm interested mainly in the production value of the show. I think it is quite interesting you have these sort of landmark shows that have bridged the gap a little bit between TV and movies. Like Game of Thrones was originally that. And then, I've been rewatching it, the first season, in hindsight, a decade or so further on. There's still quite a significant gap between the quality in terms of just how it looks and the aesthetic between a film. But then you have other landmark points like The Mandalorian, where that was designed to be the flagship Disney show. And it was saying, look at the money we're investing in this, the tech we're putting in this to make it look as good as it does. And yeah, there are definitely scenes or at least sequences and shots that look cinema quality.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, with all the money, the actual hundreds of millions of dollars that are being pumped into this show, if it's going to be another one of those where it takes that little bit of a leap.
Yeah, I really hope so. I mean, it's in keeping with the tradition of our modern interpretation of Tolkien's works, isn't it? Like the release of the films were huge because, you know, a relatively small bunch took on an enormous task, and they made 3 movies with a basically unknown director. They had to, you know, do the whole how do we show the unshowable? Like, how do we depict something that everyone already has in their brain as whatever? Because Tolkien is like legendary before this. So, you know, if that is their methodology, or if that is part of their mission here, is to make a step with what they're making, which seems to be, that's been the marketing the whole time, right? The $1 billion show, all that kind of stuff. Like we can certainly hope that will push some stuff. What didn't push some stuff though is fucking the Book of Boba Fett, which just kind of got left for dead by everyone, including Boba Fett himself and Jango Fett, and also that clone trooper in the second episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Temuera Morrison also does not like some of his shit in Book of Boba Fett. What are your thoughts on this, George?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of late, I guess, or whatever. I think the show kind of just fell into that point of most people do just now admit it was a bit shite, and everyone just has the same point of the Mandalorian bits were good, but I didn't really give a shit about the rest of the show. So maybe that was why it felt a bit safe for him to say wasn't perfect. He's not going to say anything too hard. He wants to keep cameoing, keep showing up in things. And, you know, rightfully so. Get the bag, King. Continue it.
Well, but now that Obi-Wan's out and that's like stealing up the limelight, presumably it's not only is it safer for him to say that, but it's also like legally his press tour is over, so he can now say this. He probably wasn't allowed to say this. I don't know. I think like I love statements like these, and it happened with the racism statement from Ewan McGregor as well. I love that these kinds of statements must start with how much they love the fans and then go on to how much they hate the thing, right? Every single time without fail. Like everyone knows. It's almost like redundant. It's redundant copywriting, right? Like everyone knows you love the fans, right? You can just skip that part and like just tell us what's happening, you know?
Yeah, stop diluting the point. Just condemn the people.
Yeah.
Just condemn them. That's all you need to do. Tell them to fuck off and shut up and whatever.
Yeah.
Don't water it down with saying, we love you all. We thank you so much for showing nothing without you.
Except racists. No. Fuck racists. It's like, no, just fuck racists. There's no beating around the bush here, for fuck's sake. I feel like he's doing the same with this. It's like, he clearly doesn't like everything he did with the show. He clearly is glad he did it. Everyone knows that. Everyone can read that. It doesn't require you to tell me that you got paid a shit ton of money to be a huge character again and rejuvenate your career as an on-screen actor. You know, like, you don't need to tell us that. That's the subtext of you then saying, like, maybe change a few little things here and there or whatever, you know. Fuck's sake. Anyway, enough teaser trailers. Onto the main course, the main event. This week we caught, and hilariously, you know, this episode is going to go up alongside another episode of Kenobi coming out. We together in person caught the third episode of Kenobi, or Obi-Wan Kenobi, sorry, is the name of the show. Of course. What were your initial thoughts watching it, George?
My thoughts were, holy fuck, I'm glad I'm not watching this alone, because I think I would have gone a little bit crazy at some of the filmmaking shit that I was noticing. It's like, how the fuck is this the level we're at? And we'll go into specifics. There's obviously one huge specific that we both audibly reacted to, and I think you probably had the same moment as me of like, thank God I'm not alone watching this shit.
Yeah.
And someone else is here to confirm that no, I'm actually seeing something that is just fucking poor filmmaking.
Yeah.
Wasn't any more impressed by it than I was the first two episodes.
It painfully did nothing, and it at the same time ticked all the boxes of the promises the show put out, and that almost offends me more than if it didn't, you know, because it's all the shit I did not care to see. It was all the shit that turned me off watching this show happened in that one episode. I guess let's start story-wise. Let's try and recount like what's strongest elements, what actually happens, what progresses. Because not a huge amount does, if you ask me.
No, I mean, it's the first half of the episode is what we were saying, the wheel spinning thing, where they head to this point that Kumail Nanjiani told them to go to and go there for all of 5 seconds before Obi-Wan Kenobi gets pissed off and goes like, oh, I know it was fucking stupid that we came here. And they just leave. They don't give whatever contact they're meant to be meeting any time whatsoever. And then, they then go on to do the thing that you want to see with Darth Vader showing up. And I was quite shocked, to be honest. I think I said out loud to you, like, I can't believe they're doing it now, where they just threw Darth Vader in straight away into episode 3.
Yeah.
And we'll go into how they did that. But yeah, that first half of the episode was a fucking slog to sit through, I think. If the whole episode did nothing, the first half of the episode did nothing, like literally nothing. We got nothing. There was one moment that I've seen people screenshot like fuck, and that is its only use, by the way, is it's screenshotable like fuck. And that is, we're confronted, Obi-Wan sees a vision of Anakin in the distance. That is the only thing. Again, there are bigger and more talk-worthy filmmaking problems with the show that, as we keep alluding to, we will get onto. But like, from a very like blunt point of view here, like, of course Obi-Wan is seeing ghosts of his past and feeling like shit about Anakin and stuff. Like, why have you just devoted like a set piece or a beat of this plot on that? Because it's not like PTSD or something. It's not like him dealing with anything other than his feelings right now. And we're confronted with it as if we didn't even know he was feeling this about Anakin, when that's the whole fucking point in 2 movies, right? Fucking 4 movies if you really go deeper into this. Like, of course he deeply cares about Anakin, like, and deeply cares about what happened. Like, and if you are doing that haphazard kind of way of showing some kind of PTSD, then you're doing it shit. Like, you're just making it badly. You're not, like, you have given us nothing. And again, it all fits in that first half of that episode. Just
useless, just wasteful screen time.
That moment, and another one. I'll just say it. The show has this thing where it doesn't feel like Star Wars to me, which in and of itself isn't a huge problem. I don't mind going away from the formula. I mean, that's one of the better things about Rogue One. It's the thing everyone fucking talks about, and the kind of like grittier feel to it.
Yeah.
But the problem is they don't really replace it with anything. It just ends up having this super generic feel and having all these little points that just feel like any fucking TV show would do them. Obi-Wan feeling Darth Vader arriving and the camera doing the kind of like half close up to his face, half kind of back Dutch angle shit.
Dutching it, yeah.
And then having Darth Vader be the cliche horror movie villain thing where Obi-Wan runs away and then he turns and Darth Vader's already ahead of him somehow. And it creates a visual image of Darth Vader like sprinting, panting, running to get into before Obi-Wan's there. Yeah. And it's just so fucking stupid. And it's just the show is filled with stuff like that where it's just, it weirdly enough doesn't feel like anyone's vision, which is weird because it is the same. It's Deborah Cho is directing all the episodes. Yeah, and it's the only one of these shows to have that. Like Mandalorian, Boba Fett, they've all got different fucking Robert Rodriguez popping in to do an episode or two. Yeah. Bryce Dallas Howard, Jon Favreau, others, I can't remember, Paul Feig. But this show is the one that if you would have thought would have the clearest sense of this is what it's going for, but it's just very commonly generic at all times. Yeah. And it doesn't help when it ends up being filled with nothing like it is, or just stupid stuff like we'll get into.
Yeah. It's just, it's complete lack of any kind of specificity of what it is. Like, and even my point last week was 1 Wick. Like, you're setting up this bounty, literally doing the John Wick shit where everyone around him is getting their phones are going off with the fucking thing. That's just gone. This episode is just gone. He is it feels like that. I know that the whole first half he is like a fugitive trying to escape or whatever, that kind of whole shit, and like, oh, the Empire might find him, but it's no different to how the Empire were already finding him before this story started. Like, the whole first episode is about how he stayed in hiding away, not doing his forcey shit, not being the nice guy he should be, to stay in hiding, right? So again, you've added nothing. It's like the fucking Simpsons. It's like we're back to zero again. We're just in a different place with the same people doing a different, like, completely half-assed genre piece. Again, like you say, the very, very deliberate, like, horror references. I saw someone even, the scene we were about to go on to is the big Darth Vader arrival and fight scene with Obi-Wan. I've seen people draw parallels to, can't remember the fucking film all of a sudden. Horror film, really old, crusty man, disfigured face.
Mike Myers?
No.
Or Texas Chainsaw?
Fuck it, one of them. One of the 4 that there were possibly.
Oh, Nightmare on Elm Street?
Yeah, that's the one. Someone has pointed out how it's like shot the same as a scene in that even. And it is like, again, we're coming to the bad filmmaking. This isn't even the bad filmmaking that we're talking about right now. But it is just like, it just doesn't have any coherent desire to be anything. And it's like, it's the same thing that we talk about a lot with Rogue One. Like, it does nothing. We know it's going to go nowhere. We know we can't care about the characters because they're just going to die anyway. Or we know, like, fate is sealed before and after this movie, or before and after this property. Like, you have to put in twice the work to get us to care. And this doesn't even put in half the work to get us to care, you know? Yeah. It's just rough. I mean, should we just move straight into our least favorite part of the whole episode that has made us vomit in our mouths multiple times?
Yeah, go for it.
No, why don't you take it away? Describe it, set the scene.
Oh, fuck. Okay. So yeah, they have the awkward moment where Obi-Wan kind of like half walks away from Vader in the town. And he goes into that little quarry thing, and then Darth Vader's standing there in front of him, being all epic, being all menacing. Obi-Wan just kind of walks off to the side, which is a very interesting bad choice, and the way it's shot in the wide it's captured in just feels very kind of hokey and like bordering on funny.
Yeah.
And then you have lines of action when you're editing, where it's very standard rule. Someone exits on one side of the frame, they should probably appear on the opposite side of the frame, moving in the same direction to show that continued movement. In this fucking show, he leaves on one side and the next cut is to a fucking identical location where he enters from the same side he just left. Meaning it looks like he has just walked off stage, realized he's fucked up his cue and walked back on. And it is fucking baffling watching it, to the point where like, we're obviously like movie wankers and we know somewhat about this shit, but it's just, how can regular people not notice that that's fucked up? Yeah. And it just is wrong. It's just not correct in terms of what you're trying to tell the audience.
Yeah, it's literally like, and you say, we both double taked because it hit so bad. Like, it's not even like a lot of the self-proclaimed rules in filmmaking and editing, especially in you know, cinematography and stuff, like your line, your 180 degrees, your all that kind of shit, your rule of thirds, where they need to be, what the looking room needs to be for it to cut correctly. You got your 30% rule of like, you have to, if you want to cut to a different angle that is really similar, it has to be at least like 30 degrees different or something, or 30% different in frame. Like, you have a billion rules. All of them are basically bullshit, and you can do them wrong on purpose for really good effect sometimes. But this is just like actual ineptitude in, it looked like, and I said this to you afterwards, it looked like they had filmed that scene weeks, months, decades before they had filmed the show around that scene, and they had just cut it in and gone, fuck it, that works. But he literally, when you say the location looks identical, it literally does. It's like rows of some fucking undescribed, whatever they're called, greeblies or whatever in Star Wars, where it's just like dumb bullshit that's been put there just to look like detail or whatever. It's rows of the same thing, and it's two different rows. And so he leaves one, and it literally looks like he just steps back out in front of Vader like, "Wait, I'm back. I'm going to fight you this time." When actually he's trying to be hiding and all that kind of shit, which again, it's just not shot like that. Nothing about this scene is shot like one has a position of power over the other. It's shot like I am a man holding a stick and I'm just kind of darting around, not really knowing what to do. Like no one has, and I don't know who to blame. I don't know who to point a finger at and be like, how the fuck did you manage to mess this up? Because it's like everyone, it's like every single fucker involved.
It's the weird thing where people were kind of jumping on some of the editing in the first two episodes, but it's kind of like, okay, how many times does this shit need to be happening before we start questioning who's actually responsible in terms of just as early as storyboarding the fucking thing? Like, who are the people putting this together? And then who are the people taking this onto set? Who are the people supervising it? Who are the people looking at the fucking dailies and go, like, wait, hang on, no, this isn't going to fucking cut together whatsoever. Or were they just completely oblivious to it? And then it got to post-production and they're like, oh, just doesn't fucking work whatsoever. But then even then, like, do you not just like flop the image and fix it that way? Like, I don't know. They're just so, like, you're right. It's like fucking Guess Who. You need to like flick down every fucking different department to figure out who the fuck I need to blame here. And like, holy fuck. And I know that it might sound out of context, or even just people who've seen the show, they might be thinking like, oh, you're like ragging on this very specific point, this actual one cut. But it's not an isolated thing. It just keeps happening. And obviously the moment is quite crucial in terms of it's the whole thing the series is based on, in Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader going to fight each other. And the very first time it happens, you've got this glaring fucking flaw blinding you like for fucking twin suns. Yeah. But it's just so weird. And again, I am just stunned that this is the stuff we're complaining about with this show. And it isn't just, at the very least, just be like consistently generic. Like the amount of money you can pour into this, just do whatever. Just get your paycheck, go to set that day, film, go through how many eighths of the script you're meant to be going, clock in, clock out, whatever. I just can't believe the the lack of quality at times.
Yeah.
And I still can't.
Yeah. I mean, this is to clarify, this is our figurehead. This one cut wasn't what made Obi-Wan Kenobi bad. It is this one cut represents the worst one yet and the worst opportune moment for this to happen in amongst a sea of about thousands more of that kind of problem. And it sounds so pretentious because we're like, oh, filmmaking, it's about the filmmaking, but it's like literally basic. I could not understand the scene. I fucking, me and you have made films in the past. Like, I continue to make films. I cut films, right? This shit, if I can't figure out the geography of the scene watching it, and it is my like job to figure out the geography of scenes watching dailies and watching cuts, like, how the fuck did no one else see this? And like, this isn't like a normal person watching it couldn't feel something is wrong. Like, if you're watching the most crucial scene, arguably, in your series so far, and you're like gripped by it, and even a second of your time is taken up like, oh, what? Where's he gone? Why has he gone that way? Like, suddenly you're pulled out of like what is supposed to be the most important part of your scene. And I don't want to be the guy again, but like, you mentioned the point of like, there's so many people along the chain like to fix it, or there's enough time to fix it. This is a show that is shot entirely on a soundstage in a studio with perfectly controllable conditions. Like, everything is controllable. You have enough money, enough time, and enough resources because it's a soundstage that is customized to exactly what you need. There is no excuse for half-assed filmmaking. Like, there is no excuse. There is no tangible, unless Ewan McGregor had to fucking leave in the middle of the day, and also the set designer had to leave, and also the guy who does the Unreal renders has to leave, you know? Because even little shit like that should be on everyone's radar. Like, I just don't get it. I just do not get it. And it's easy to fuck up on the day, film the wrong angle or something, just because like three of you just so happen to not be thinking straight in that highly stressful moment. Happens all the fucking time. But even after it's shot, there's ways of fixing it. Like, as you say, you just flip horizontally the image, or, you know, you do a more meticulous route and you try and fix it if you think it's necessary. Like, I would say, personal opinion, that is the moment that if you fuck that up, you have demonstrated to me that you should not be making this series. Like, if you cannot do the Darth Vader and Obi-Wan fight scene justice, that's the point in your show. Like, you fucked it. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, we even said before this episode, I am quite happy just not watching the rest of the series, not doing it as like part of the feature presentation, like not devoting so much time of our lives to this shit. But like, we're going to do it just because it's fucking epic and dumb and clicky. But like, it astounds me that we went from Star Wars, and you know, we talked last time about actors and stuff, and people saying, oh, Star Wars has always been goofy. It's like, yeah, but Star Wars has always been a very fucking, the point in the movies was technological advancements and making amazing, like, stunning sci-fi. Nothing has happened. Nothing has changed. Nothing is new. Nothing has been developed from this series. If you can come out with a fucking ILM documentary about how epic it was that they, we reinvented fire physics so that when Darth Vader is looking at Obi-Wan through the flames look pretty cool or something, in his fucking flame retardant suit, of course, designed after the man got baked alive by fire. Like, he could just walk through the fucking fire more than anything else. In fact, they turned the fire off and he could have walked through at any given moment or just turned it off again. Fuck. But it's like, nothing about this so far has been good enough for the status that is Obi-Wan Kenobi. You know what I mean? Like, this is your flagship shit and you're doing it terribly. Like, how is this happening?
But the other thing as well is like going into the actual, because that's what this episode is. It's the episode where Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader start fighting. There's just so little to it. where I'm trying to remember any of the dialogue. It is all just Darth Vader writing the most like bare bones fan fiction dialogue, not writing, saying that dialogue.
Yeah.
Where he's like, "The years have made you old, Obi-Wan," and just lame shit like that. And there's no insight whatsoever into how either of them actually think about the other. Where Obi-Wan obviously is going to feel a little bit fucking guilty about what happened, but it isn't really demonstrated in the fight or anyway. He just kind of runs off, but it just seems more like he's just kind of scared at first.
Yeah.
Then they start fighting, and it is just a whatever fight, and he is old and whatever.
Yeah.
But there's nothing for Darth Vader. You don't get zero from him in terms of what he thinks about the scenario or wanting to get revenge on Obi-Wan or whatever. It's just nothing. It's just some giant fucking 6.5-foot robot bringing his red lightsaber around.
Yeah.
And it's not captured in any special riveting way. There's no Duel of Fates soundtrack to keep you interested. It is just really bland.
There's a perfect comparison to make here, in my opinion, is what we both agree as an inappropriate or misplaced scene, but a very good scene regardless. At the end of Rogue One, Darth Vader's arrival on the ship and his, the way that is shot deliberately to capture a perspective we haven't seen of like someone who is trapped in the room with him, fearing him. Like that is, draw a parallel between that and this. They're both going for, or it seems like, as you say, they should really be going for emotional depth. They should really be going for the fact that, Obi-Wan is being confronted by his lifelong friend who he has trained and feels very guilty about, being part of the transition to who he stood in front of now, right? But instead, they go for the fear. And even putting those two scenes next to each other where the fear is the only thing, like, the only emotion we're supposed to feel or supposed to be, conveyed on screen. Even putting those two next to each other, just basic filmmaking choices make Rogue One's one actually scary or actually
night
intense.
And day.
Yeah. It's like, Rogue One had a load more budget. Well, fuck off. Like, no, it's Disney. Like, I know I'm fighting an imaginary battle here, but like, it's Disney doing the biggest thing that they've done on their streaming platform since The Mandalorian, with a character who is huge, that was guaranteed to be the most successful show that they release. And they just didn't bother. Just didn't bother doing it right. I just don't understand it. I will never understand it.
You also say that Rogue One scene at the end has like more budget, has fewer excuses, whatever. But I also don't really believe that, because Rogue One was like reshot to shit and recut and pulled apart. So that scene really could have just been like done in a day. Where they just had to stitch it in of like, oh fuck, test audiences, we need more Darth Vader. Fuck, let's throw this in there. Yeah. I mean, Gareth Edwards was just able to sort of like put something together and it turned out really good.
Yeah.
But just like standalone point, because I just want to make it abundantly clear that I think that scene is stupid and annoying and pointless, and the whole thing of making Darth Vader like cool in the moment, whatever, is silly.
Yeah.
But yeah, isolated in a vacuum, the scene is very well done. There's like craft behind it.
Yeah. Well, it's like just really inappropriately placed in a fucking piece that makes no sense. I completely agree.
Yeah, but you're right. I completely agree with everything you said in terms of, it's the difference between it and the fact that they are going for the same thing is wrong to begin with. But even then, it's like embarrassing the levels and quality between it all.
Yeah.
And also, the other thing, like these whole shows, they're meant to be like made for the fans, whatever. Like that's what this is, a fan service of watching Ewan McGregor and Darth Vader fight. But the way the scenes are structured in that they start fighting for 2 seconds and then it immediately cuts to young Leia and whatever the random woman is that's helping them. Or it cuts to Reva, the Inquisitor woman, looking for them. Like, what fucking fans actually want to be watching any of this? This needs to be like centerpiece stuff where it is just 5 minutes of watching these guys fight in a cool scene. Because that's really what people want. That's all you need to be making this show for.
Yeah.
So you can surround it with the other bullshit and pretend you're doing a story or whatever and fill it with this. But interrupting it with this stuff where it is just like, it's like slamming on the brakes when you're only doing like 10 miles an hour anyway. Like it's obviously, if it was a good scene, it would be like way fucking worse and be like, stop cutting away, show me the good stuff. But this, it's just like being sat in traffic.
Yeah. That is a fucking amazing descriptor of what happens in that scene as well. Just unbelievable. Just again, like, I know that we're kind of rattling on about the same kind of gut feeling, but you're right. It is just, who wants this? Who really, really wants this? Because if you're there, all right, I want to see Darth Vader, ooh, then cool, you know, you get that. But you get it in the worst possible form you could ever receive that. You might as well Google image Darth Vader. Just look at that for fucking 30 seconds. You get about the same value from that than you do this show. And actually, just a point on Darth Vader and a point on fan service. Right now, I mean, obviously guaranteed, 100%, million, billion% guaranteed, lock of the week. Next week's episode is going to have maskless Anakin, regardless of whether it's like de-aged Anakin or whether it's like pickle Anakin. Who knows? But it's going to be in there, right? Up until now, what's the fucking point? I mean, the fan service of like, oh, Hayden Christensen's back in the suit. And it's like, yeah, you just got a body double. You just paid him actor rates to be a body double. Have James Earl Jones come back for the fucking voice as it should be, right? He might not have even been on fucking set. As far as I know, there is no reason why he needed to turn up for any of this show so far, you know? And it's like, if you're going to do the fan service, do the fucking fan service. Actually do the shit you are promising. Yeah, it might be him in the suit. Oh, that's very cool. I don't give a fuck. It's a man in a Darth Vader suit. It could be the fucking guy in a Darth Vader suit who goes to the events around near me. I just do not give a fuck. It could be my fucking nephew in a dress-up costume that we got him from the shop last week. I don't fucking care. You can't be like, oh, Hayden Christensen's in there. That's so sick. It's like, yeah, he was probably on lunch while they filmed this. You fucking idiot. Oh.
You'd also have to be in some like pretty serious lifts or be on stilts or something to be Darth Vader size. I don't know how tall Hayden Christensen is in real life. I'm pretty sure he isn't 6'6" or whatever.
That would maybe explain why the action's so shit. He's in like...
He's trying not to fall over.
Heels, yeah.
That's funny. You mentioned James Earl Jones, and I will admit I was wrong last week in saying don't bring him back because he'll sound old and crusty and shit, which I stand by. He sounded like that in Rogue One. I don't know what fucking stem cells they injected into his vocal cords between now and then, but he sounded a lot better to me when he was speaking this episode, saying whatever the fuck he was to the Reaver character, going, good, you will be Grand Inquisitor if you help me. And say, okay, I don't fucking care. But every scene with those Inquisitor characters is fucking just painful to sit through.
Yeah.
It's just so one note and lame, and the conflict is so uninteresting.
Yeah, I love that. I love when they come up on screen and we cringe, we hate it with a big passion. And then I check my Facebook wall of fucking, you know, where this podcast is therapy for me to get out my problems. I open Facebook and I'm in a bunch of, I'm a sleuth. I'm espionaging a bunch of Star Wars groups on Facebook.
You're putting your Kenobi hood up and walking through the streets of people talking about how good the show is.
And all of them, dude, the fifth brother or whatever the fuck is the best character I've ever seen in Star Wars. It's like, no, you just like Fast and Furious, man. That's all this is. You just like seeing him on screen in makeup that makes him completely unrecognizable, saying lines in a stupid voice. I'm
still not sure you're not just like fucking with me there. Is it really that?
Yeah, it actually is. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, maybe there's something praiseworthy you made, just like you did with Hayden Christensen. You put an actor that we all know and love into a suit and made him look unrecognizable and gave him a nothing character that means nothing. It's like he was never there. My goodness. Yeah, no, people actually love him. Genuinely love him.
That's just embarrassing and sad. Or maybe it isn't. Maybe it isn't sad. It's predictable in a way. Like I say, like when your fan bases are as big as like these are, gonna have your fair share of numpties. Who
you say that. This is the target market of Kenobi. are saying, and I quote, and this is an actual quote, and if you see this, I'm really sorry, but there's an actual quote. This one particular person who has got a lot of clout now from this post in this Facebook group said that they thought the character development of the fifth brother was the best that they've seen in Star Wars in ages, or something along those lines. Like, I'm paraphrasing the last bit, but they specifically name drop the character development, and I thought it was ironic. It wasn't irony. It wasn't fucking irony.
What development? He goes from pissed at Reva character to slightly more pissed at Reva character. There's no fucking change. Just so one note.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And then you had someone in the comments rightly pointed that out. They were like, "What? He's just angry, and now he's angrier." And then the same person responded like, "Yeah, isn't that Reva's character?" It's like, yeah. So the show's bad. Do you not understand?
Yeah. You got multiple one-note characters that suck and I don't care about, and you're dedicating way more screen time to them than you should.
The whole fucking show stinks, right? It's not like, oh, this is the best. This is the best of a bad lot. It must be good. No, it's like, no, if it's the best of a bad lot, the fucking lot is bad. Why do you not understand? Oh my God, man. Fuck.
So is Liam Neeson showing up next episode or what?
Yeah,
or are they going to hold out until the end?
Well, no, he's going to be in like 30 seconds last episode, I reckon. I don't know. I'm actually really looking forward to it. I can't believe, I still can't believe it comes out on fucking Wednesdays. Who would release a show on Wednesdays?
I couldn't believe it. When they made their change, if we're going to do the first 2 episodes on the Friday, I was like, oh, okay. But hey, what the fuck? The 3rd episode's out too? I thought it was like fake YouTube. I saw like thumbnails clipping out from like episode 3 clip and shit like that. I thought it was the classic thing of people just like lie, and they were just going to take like snippets from episode 3 and like Star Wars episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and like the first 2 episodes of this show. But like, no, it was like the actual fucking thing. I was like, what the fuck is happening here? Why are you putting episodes out on different days? This isn't how things work. And how now to watch this fucking episode tomorrow and wait until we
you have to ruin my week. You can't just be a bad end to my week, and now you just have to ruin the fucking middle of it. My God. As I say, whoever releases episodes on a fucking Wednesday is an idiot.
There must be some logic to it, that some American things happen not on a Wednesday, so people will watch it now, or something along those lines. There must be something we're just not getting.
I don't know.
But yeah.
Well,
Confused
I guess
annoyed me.
What is it? What's the spoiler period that the whole internet has adopted now? Like 72 hours?
0 seconds, Charlie. 0 seconds for television.
Yeah, but
no,
seriously. The like scumbag threshold is like 72 hours. What does that take?
No, it isn't. No, it honestly isn't, Charlie. If you go on fucking Twitter the day something comes out, you will see shit from it. That happened with Book of Boba Fett. Literally 2 hours after the fucking episode where Cad Bane shows up. I wasn't watching the show by that point, but I wasn't like following lots of shit to be, in the know on the show or whatever. Yeah. I just saw all the screenshots of Blue Man Cad Bane and be like, the fuck is that? But it was instant. Yeah. And again, it's something I was like properly clued into or feeding the algorithm to tell me about this shit. It just happens. Yeah. And it happens with all this shit.
But I'm thinking more like corporate, like what is Disney's? We'll have to look at the Instagram and see when the character posters come out from the previous episode. Because the corporate threshold for spoiling it might be, as I say, I think it's 72 hours. I might be making that up. But like obviously if it comes out on a Wednesday, that means that like big publicity push for the weekend, have you caught why do I keep calling it a fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi? Literally it sounds like it's an in-joke with like me and someone else, but no, like literally this is just how my brain works. But like, yeah, they'll do like a big push on the weekend. Oh, did you catch it? Oh, this happened. Oh, and they'll come up with a big fucking screenshot and the dumb character posters, which are inconsistent as hell, completely different per episode. Man, fuck.
I do wonder what they do with the rest of this show now, because do they have like more than one other Darth Vader fight? Like, they've got to have one in the final episode. They throw one in episode 4, episode 5. Like, or is it going to go back to what we were saying of it's now just going to rely on like Obi-Wan and Leia and Reva doing bullshit? And what happens?
That would be fucking hilarious if that was the only time they fight. I now hope that is the only time they fight. That would be fucking hilarious.
I mean, it would be really funny. There's no chance that's what happens. Like, they obviously have to fight again.
Yeah, no, I think guarantee is that they fight every episode from now on. Like, literally every episode. It will seem, in the moment to the fans, they'll be like, yes, I get to see it again. And then they'll realize that, like, the show is just a gimmicky fucking, what is it, cinema of attractions or whatever. Like, oh, it's the man in the scary suit is back to fight the man with a beard. Oh, my favorite picture, you know.
Like some fucking old dude living his past. Like the people Top Gun Maverick was made for.
Yeah.
They're just old people going like, oh, back in the day. The movies were like this. This was a fucking movie.
Yeah. Although old people hate Top Gun Maverick because it's good.
Loud.
I don't know.
I don't think old people hate it. I thought they'd like it. They're like, oh, it's just like the original, but maybe better.
I don't know. I don't know anyone has ever said maybe better than the original to anything that's come out in the last like 10 years.
It definitely, you could definitely criticize it for not being as gay.
Mm.
It's a little bit too straight, I think. Top Gun Maverick.
That's homework. That is fucking homework. For next episode, we need to find the opinions of old people. And if they dislike this because it doesn't capture the charm of the original, we then need to find out whether they're against gay people and if they have some kind of internalized homophobia against themselves because they're gay. This is a research-based show now all of a sudden. Oh my gosh.
Damn it.
Yeah. You got any other points on Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Obi-Wan. That's the next character in our lore. Put the little like baseball cap on him or something. Have him wear like the college frats they have, where it's like the Sigma. What would his clan be? Sigma Sand something. I don't know.
You tried. I'll give you that. You tried. I was thinking like my brain just went straight to like Dexter. Like they were obviously in the same. Obi-Wan and Dexter were obviously in the same like bunk or whatever. You know.
Oh, Dexter Jetster. Fuck me. I thought he meant like Dexter from Dexter's Lab. I was like, what the fuck does that mean?
No, Dexter Jetster, man. He's all hands. You know how it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's, again, new prequel show. You were talking about Yoda and Chewbacca having a little road trip. Fucking Dexter Jetster and Obi-Wan Kenobi meeting at college and having a good time.
It's like Monsters
Holy
University.
Shit. Yeah.
Fuck's sake.
That would be sick. I love that show.
That would be great. There's one of the lines that we've not mentioned in this show was Obi-Wan talking about his dead ass brother that doesn't exist as far as up until now comes. Just doesn't exist. Maybe they just do that. Maybe that's their way out. They just wrote that line in so that they could do the Dexter Jetster Obi-Wan twin brother road trip movie. That'd be great. What a fucking great day that would be if they actually made something of worth. Fuck. That'd
be sick. That should be Taika Waititi's project. The Dexter Jetster Obi-Wan Kenobi college.
What is that now? That's the pod racing. Like, they cannot say that we don't come out with some good ideas on this podcast. Disney should be fucking listening. The fact that we spent the first half of this episode schooling them on how to make films, and now the latter half of this episode schooling them on how to make Star Wars better. Like, you guys need to keep your eyes locked in on this show. Not saying we have the correct opinions, but we absolutely are doing the right thing for you guys. We should pitch. This is a great idea.